Have you ever felt that pressure to put your whole life on Front Street? You know that moment when everybody's all up in your business, expecting you to share everything, but something inside you says, no, some things aren't for public consumption. Think about the last time you were in a situation where everyone was oversharing and you felt that pressure to match their energy. Maybe it was on social media where people are just posting their whole lives, or in a conversation where people were revealing lots of personal stuff. Remember how that felt? When you look at her journey from anonymous artist to selective revealer, you're witnessing something that could completely transform your relationship with yourself. The most authentic connection doesn't come from showing everything. It comes from consciously choosing what deserves to be seen. And this isn't about a celebrity, it's about all of us. If you think about your own boundaries, have you noticed how drained you feel after oversharing? Have you recognized that empty feeling that comes after revealing something that just wasn't ready to be exposed? Today, I'm going to break down how selective revelation isn't about being secretive. It's about honoring what's sacred about you. And more importantly, how mastering this discernment can transform your relationships from draining interactions to energizing connections that respect both your desire for authenticity and your need for sacred boundaries. Let's explore three powerful truths about selective revelation that could completely transform how you navigate sharing yourself with the world. So, first, understand that protecting parts of yourself isn't about hiding, it's about honoring what's sacred. When H.E.R first came on the scene, she dropped her debut EP without showing her face or revealing her identity. While the industry standard is to expose everything for clout, so to speak, she created a space where people connected with her essence first. And this wasn't about secrecy, it was about sacred boundary setting. And this isn't unique to her, it's a spiritual practice that's been lost in this oversharing culture. What's happened, we've been conditioned to believe that authenticity means revealing everything, that boundaries equal walls, that privacy equals shame. So if you take a moment right now to think about the last time you shared something personal that you later regretted. Maybe it was maybe it was telling too much to someone who just didn't deserve that access. Maybe it was posting something online during an emotional moment. Can you feel that subtle violation in your body as you just think about it? That feeling isn't random. It's your spirit recognizing that something sacred was exposed before you was ready. The discomfort after oversharing isn't about being too vulnerable. It's about violating your own sacred boundaries. So ask yourself, what parts of me have I been sharing indiscriminately? And now consider this. Where might you be exposing aspects of yourself that actually deserve protection? That trauma story you tell people you barely know. Look closer at whether that serves healing or has become your identity card. What about those personal struggles you post about in real time? If you examine whether sharing them is creating connection or depleting your energy while processing is still happening. And the depletion you feel after oversharing directly corresponds to the sacredness of what was exposed. So the more drained you feel after revealing something, the more likely the aspect of yourself deserve protection or more protection. And this isn't about secrecy, it's about reverence for your own sacred nature. My second insight is the authentic revelation has its own divine timing that rarely matches external pressure. Hers gradual unfolding of her identity, slowly revealing more aspects of herself while maintaining her core boundaries, demonstrates what I call sacred timing. She didn't rush to show her face just because the industry demanded it. She allowed her revelation to follow its own organic schedule. And your authentic unfolding works the same way. If you think about times when you shared something before it was fully integrated, maybe you talked about a healing journey while still in the middle of it. Maybe you revealed a vulnerability before you'd processed it yourself. These premature revelations often create distortion rather than connection. So just take a moment to reflect on your relationship with timing. How often do you feel rushed to share aspects of yourself before your spirit feels ready? What's the quality of connection that emerges from these premature revelations? The spiritual significance of timing is profound. What you share before inner readiness creates distortion. What you reveal in alignment with divine timing creates authentic connection. Your truth deserves the respect of its own natural unfolding. Have you ever noticed how sharing something at the wrong time can actually distort its meaning as well? I mean, this doesn't mean you never reveal yourself, but it does suggest there's a natural timing worth honoring that has nothing to do with external demands. The third truth about selective revelation is that it redirects attention from your packaging to your essence. Have you noticed how our culture is obsessed with appearance over substance? And this isn't just about physical looks, it's about the constant pressure to emphasize how things appear rather than what they actually are. Her's signature sunglasses aren't just a fashion statement, they're what I call a perspective shifter. By partially concealing her eyes, she redirects attention from how she looks to what she creates. The sunglasses aren't hiding, they're focusing attention on what matters most ultimately. So think about your own relationship with essence versus appearance. How often do you feel pressure to emphasize your packaging over substance? When you're in a social situation, how much energy goes into, I should say, how you're perceived versus expressing what truly matters to you? And if you ask yourself honestly, where are you overemphasizing, I should say? So where are you overemphasizing how you appear at the expense of who you really are? And this isn't unique to celebrities. It's happening in your life right now in ways that, you've likely been unable to recognize. The more you focus or the more focus you place on appearance, the less energy remains for essence. And this explains why the most image conscious people often feel the least authentically connected, why social media can leave you feeling hollow despite all the validation, and why those most concerned with how they're perceived often lose touch with who they actually are. So notice how this plays out in your own life. How much energy goes into crafting how you appear compared to expressing who you. Now let's transform this awareness into your power. Understanding selective revelation isn't about becoming secretive, it's about liberation from the pressure to expose everything. When you recognize this pattern, you create the ability to transform your sharing from depleting exposure into energizing authentic connection. First, you reframe your boundaries as sacred containers rather than walls. Okay. So your selective revelation isn't about hiding, it's about honoring what deserves protection. The next time you feel pressured to share something that just doesn't feel right, try this practice. So pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this aspect of myself ready to be shared? Does this person or platform deserve access to this part of me? This question doesn't diminish your authenticity, it enhances your self reverence. Okay, and imagine moving through your day with this new perspective. That pressure to expose everything, no longer your obligation, but an opportunity to practice discernment. Okay, and the expectation doesn't lose its intensity. You gain new sovereignty in how you respond to it. When you find yourself thinking, I should share this to seem open, gently challenge that conditioning. Ask yourself, what would happen if I honored my intuition about what deserves protection? This isn't about being secretive, but honestly recognizing your right to sacred boundaries. And second, practice conscious revelation with this 3-step process. Okay. So check your readiness before sharing something personal. Ask, Has this been fully integrated within me, or am I still processing it? Remember, premature sharing often creates distortion rather than connection. Access the container. Ask yourself, does this relationship or platform have the capacity to hold this revelation with respect? Not every person or space deserves equal access to your inner world. Consider your intention. Reflect on why you're sharing. Am I revealing this from authentic choice or external pressure? Sharing from pressure often leaves you depleted. Sharing from choice creates energizing connection. So try this practice with something you've been considering sharing. Are you truly ready? Is the container appropriate? Is your intention authentic? And third, use the boundaries as pathways to deeper connection. The more consciously you choose to reveal, the more meaningful that revelation becomes. So when you feel that urge to just overshare, recognize it as conditioned rather than authentic. This urge isn't your truth, it's programming that equates indiscriminate exposure with openness. Let me share what's possible when you master the art of selective revelation. So imagine if you approached every interaction with conscious discernment about what to share and what to protect. This awareness wouldn't make you less authentic, but would transform your connections from depleting exposures to energizing exchanges. A shift that would enhance rather than reduce your impact. The same transformation awaits in your relationship with boundaries as well. So when you practice selective revelation, you reclaim the energy previously lost to discriminate sharing. What once drained you through exposure now fuels you through conscious choice. So your boundaries create a perfect container for authentic connection. So when you recognize this pattern, oversharing transforms from a false obligation into a conscious choice. This understanding doesn't diminish the value of openness, okay? It transforms its purpose from conditioned exposure to sacred revelation. Her selective sharing doesn't make her less authentic. It gives her revelation more meaning through this consciousness. So just think about how this might transform your relationships. When someone pressures you to share and you recognize your right to boundaries, you gain the ability to respond from choice rather than obligation. You can engage authentically rather than from conditioned exposure. And this doesn't mean you never reveal yourself. It means you share consciously rather than indiscriminately. Okay. And the same transformation awaits in your own relationship with revelation. When you choose to recognize your right to protect what's sacred, you reclaim the energy previously lost to boundary violations. So this week, guys, I challenge you to notice 3 situations where you feel pressured to share more than feels right, and practice conscious discernment. Notice how this exploration doesn't diminish your authenticity, but enhances your energy. And remember, what you once saw as obligation to expose everything becomes your opportunity for sacred discernment. What once triggered automatic sharing becomes conscious choice. What once seemed like pressure to reveal everything becomes your invitation to honor what's sacred about you. The power was never in exposing everything. It was always in consciously choosing what deserves to be seen. As always, stay beautiful, stay connected, and stay conscious in the field.